Hello, it is mid-September 2023 and I'm in Glacier National Park for a 6-day backpacking adventure. I'll be hiking a traverse through the middle of the park, starting here from St. Mary Lake, heading to Red Eagle Lake, Reynolds Creek, Gunsight Pass, Lake Ellen Wilson, Sperry Creek, Snyder Lake, finishing up at Lake McDonald. This one-way route is made possible by the free shuttle system in the park. I've got about 9 miles to go today, and I've already done a little bit coming down from St. Mary to the Red Eagle Lake trailhead. It is an absolutely gorgeous day, and it's time to hit the trail. Probably not too many better ways to start a trip than a nice walk along the pebble shore of St. Mary Lake on a mostly sunny day. That's what I like. This area burned in 2006, so approaching 2 decades later, this is what the landscape now looks like. First bare sky of the trip, nice and early. We've got the king of the aspens looking over his flock of grouse. I will be back to this intersection tomorrow to continue along St. Mary Lake, but today I'm heading left to Red Eagle Lake. It says 2.5 miles to home. Red Eagle Creek will be my intermittent companion for the rest of today's journey. The trail roughly follows the creek up to the foot of Red Eagle Lake. I'm probably in the minority with this opinion, but I low-key love these shiny silvery fields of down timber. They make me feel like I'm right at home in Yellowstone. First view of Red Eagle Lake, sparkling in the late afternoon sunshine. I should be very close to camp, which is on the foot of Red Eagle Lake. Let's go find it. Home sweet home. Red Eagle Lake foot. This is the food prep and food hang area. I'm gonna get my food up and then go find my tent site. This will be the site for me. It comes with a stunning view right from the front porch.
The name Red Eagle was given in honor of James Willard Schultz's wife's uncle, Red Eagle, who saved the life of their son.
I neglected to air out my tent after my last glacier backpack, so it's a little bit smelly and moist and gross, but I'm hoping that a couple hours in the sun and the wind will have it right as rain.
On this trip, I'm using the Glacier and Waterton Lakes Nat Geo map number 215. Let's take a look at the map for day 1. Starting at the Red Eagle trailhead, I followed the Red Eagle trail for the entirety of the first day down to the Red Eagle Foot campsite. Day 1 was about 9 miles.
Day 1 has been a good start to my trip in Glacier. I navigated the shuttle system, got where I needed to go, knocked out my hike, and have an awesome place to camp at Red Eagle Lake. The weather today was absolutely perfect, and that's the forecast for the rest of the trip as well. So if it sticks like that, I'll be spoiled, that's for sure. Camp set up, I've got dinner in me, and I'm settling in for a relaxing first night of the trip. That'll be the end of day 1. Good night. Good morning. Made the day 2 in Glacier National Park. The lows last night dropped to the mid-30s, and I had to share my little tent site here with a thru hiker. No good deed goes unpunished. He hit me with quite a bit of snores throughout the night, but still got a restful sleep, and here I am today, still alive. It's my longest day of the trip. I think it's in the 14 to 15 mile range to head up to Reynolds Creek, and I'm running a little bit behind this morning. Breakfast is already in me. I'm gonna get the tent packed up. It'll be time to hit the trail. Leaving Red Eagle Mountain behind as I retrace my steps back to yesterday's intersection with the St. Mary Lake Trail. Just across Red Eagle Creek is a little spotted fawn. I just saw probably his family over there to the left. He's looking for him. He'll find him here. Oh, there he goes. He's making a crossing. Yeah, he's on a beeline right towards the rest of his family. He's still got his spots, but he's getting big. Bye-bye, buddy. Finished up my stretch of the Red Eagle Trail. Now I'm hopping on the St. Mary Lake Trail. I'll be on this trail, I believe, for most of the rest of the day. The St. Mary Lake Trail immediately ascended a bluff, which is affording me pretty views of Red Eagle Creek on this crystal blue morning. Pop back out to Old St. Mary. It's a long lake. I'll be hiking beside it for a long time today. And it's funny, this morning I said goodbye to Red Eagle Mountain, but I'm actually hiking right on the other side of Red Eagle Mountain, so it's not goodbye yet. Beyond Silver Dollar Beach is Wild Goose Island. Wild Goose Island is actually featured as the background photo on Montana driver's licenses. I'm making good time along St. Mary Lake to start off my day. The hiking is pretty gentle and mostly shaded in the trees. I hiked their wooded stretch for a little bit there, and when I popped out, St. Mary Lake had vanished. I must have reached the end of the lake, continuing on my way. Virginia Falls. Another angle of Virginia Falls. That's the state of my birth, so I had to view it right. The Virginia Falls Cascade Complex continues for quite a ways. This is awesome. Finishing up my stretch of St. Mary Lake Trail, hopping on Pagan Pass Trail. Should take me most of the rest of the way on the day. That stretch around Virginia Falls was interesting because I hadn't seen any other hikers all day, and in that 1 mile I probably saw 100 people. Everyone's out on this beautiful day enjoying the views. Love to see it. I'm a little over a mile from camp, I'm gonna try to finish strong. As mentioned, I left St. Mary Lake behind, but St. Mary River has appeared to fill that hole in my heart. I ended up only along St. Mary River for a short stretch, but Reynolds Creek quickly stepped in to fill the gap. One last swing bridge to cross. This one has some gaps in it. I better watch my feet. Reynolds Creek Campground should be right on the other side of this crossing. Home sweet home. Reynolds Creek Campground. This'll be the site for me. Time to get set up.
Reynolds Creek and Mountain were named by George Grinnell after Charles Reynolds, an editor for his Field and Stream magazine.
Not my best pitch, but this tent site had a bunch of big rocks in the ground that I was trying to avoid, and this is the best I could do.
Let's take a look at the map for day 2. Starting from Red Eagle Foot campsite, I retraced my steps to connect with the St. Mary Trail, followed along beautiful St. Mary Lake to get to the Reynolds Creek campsite. Day 2 was about 14 miles.
Day 2 has been another good solid day in Glacier. I was pleased with the effort I put in during the hiking portion, and the waterfalls definitely surprised me with the size and the amount of them. Today was a pretty flat day, but tomorrow I'll be climbing, so I'll need to get some good rest. I've got camp set up, dinner's in me, and I'm sailing in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 2. Good night. Good morning. Made to day 3, my backpacking trip in Glacier. Comfortable night last night, the low is about 40. I spent the past 2 nights camped with a group of CDT thru hikers, Franz, Steve, and Mello. They're nice guys. They've got 2 days left to finish off their epic adventure. Wishing the best of luck to them. Today I have what may be my most scenic day of the trip. I'm going to go up and over Gunsight Pass and finish up at Lake Ellen Wilson. It will have a fair amount of climbing today, so I'll be looking forward to knocking that out. I've got breakfast in me. I'm going to pack up camp and it'll be time to hit the trail. 5 minutes in on the day, first bear scat. It's a sizable one. Big glacier action as the sun is taking its time this morning to warm the trail up. I'm going to take a 1.5 mile round trip detour to Florence Falls and then return right to Gunsight Pass Trail. Florence Falls! Well worth the extra steps. I like the broad design and cascades of this falls. A little rainbow right in the middle. Finished up my detour to Florence Falls. Back on the Gunsight Pass Trail. The sun's popped out on a crystal blue day. Crossing over the outlet of Gunsight Lake. This body of water is currently mired in controversy because the Park Service recently poisoned the lake and its outflows in an attempt to remove non-native fish species and restock it with native fish. Below the towering peak of Mount Jackson, my trail rises steeply. We've got about 1,600 feet of elevation gain over the next couple miles from the shore of Gunsight Lake up to Gunsight Pass.
Such a classic glacial valley, broad and U-shaped. Just made it up the Gunsight Pass, the high point on my trip, and I found this goat boy hiding behind the rock. There's a neat little shelter up here on Gunsight Pass, and as I look south the way that I'm heading today, I can see Lake Ellen Wilson, an attractive destination. Non-poisoned water as well. I was getting a bit tired from all the up hiking, so it's nice to head down to finish off my day. Back up a little ways, I was enjoying the view of Lake Ellen Wilson, not really watching my footing, and I came as close as I've come this entire summer to picking up an injury. I thought I had twisted my ankle a little bit. There was a bit of pain on the outside of the ankle, and I went to the ground, but popped back up, walked it off, and it's not really feeling like anything too much now. So as long as it doesn't swell up later, I think I may have gotten lucky and dodged a bullet. A good reminder to always be focused on the footing and not let the beautiful, beautiful scenery distract me. Closing in on camp. Should be right down on the shore of Lake Ellen Wilson to the right. I've heard that there are aggressive sheep at this campsite. We'll see if they're there when I arrive. Home sweet home. The Lake Ellen Wilson campground food prep. The food hang is right on the other side of that very nice shade rock. I will hang my food and then find my tent site. This will be the site for me. It's the farthest site from the rest of camp, and it has the best view. Double prizes. Lake Ellen Wilson was named for 28th President Woodrow Wilson's wife, who died in the White House in 1914. Food is hung, tent is pitched. I'm going to gather some water, and then it'll be time to settle in for my pre-dinner rest. Let's take a look at the map for day 3. From Reynolds Creek campsite, I took the Gunsight Pass Trail, short detour out to Florence Falls, continued on my way past Gunsight Lake, across Gunsight Pass, down to Lake Ellen Wilson. Day 3 was about 12 miles. Day 3 in Glacier has been a great day. The most scenic day of the trip so far, thanks to highlights like Florence Falls, Gunsight Lake, Gunsight Pass, and Lake Ellen Wilson. It was cool to get visited by the goat up at Gunsight Pass. The weather has been absolutely perfect. Another very comfortable day for backpacking. Camp set up, I've got dinner in me, and I'm settling in for a relaxing evening. As long as nothing crazy happens, that'll be the end of day 3. Good night.
Good morning. Made it to day 4, my backpacking adventure in Glacier. Calm night last night, very warm, barely dropped into the mid-40s. Cannot complain about that as we're approaching late September. I have an exciting day today. I've already got breakfast in me. I'm going to get camp packed up and it'll be time to hit the trail. Today is a bit of an unorthodox day, but it should be full of scenic hiking. I'll start out by backpacking 3 miles from Lake Ellen Wilson to the Sperry Creek campground. I'll get set up quickly and then day hike up the Sperry Glaciers Trail, which I've heard is really one of the coolest areas in the park. So I'm looking forward to exploring that. I just have to get up and over Lincoln Pass on my way to Sperry Creek, and then I should be rolling. Peering down on Lake Ellen Wilson as the sun has just crested the ridge and started to splash its rays across the landscape. There's Lincoln Lake, just a little bit below Lake Ellen Wilson. Lincoln Creek flowing out of Lincoln Lake. Gunsight Peak closing in on Lincoln Pass, then I'll be dropping down to Sperry Creek. Lincoln Peak to the left, and that saddle to the right is Lincoln Pass. I met a pair of hikers on trail this morning. They're kind of short and hairy, but look like they can cover some ground. These are some little ghosts. They look like younger fellas. Made it up to the top of Lincoln Pass. It's a mostly cloudy day, really the first clouds I've seen in several days. Through the trees we can barely see Lake McDonald, which is my ultimate destination on this trip. This little pointy mountain in front of Lake McDonald is really cool to look at because it provides such a stark difference in microclimates between the south-facing slope on the left and the north-facing slope on the right. Home sweet home. The Sperry Campground food prep and food storage. Looks like I'll have quite the view for my meals today. Awesome. This will be the site for me. This is the only one of the 4 tent sites at Sperry that have any privacy. The other 3 are right on the trail through camp.
Dr. Lyman Sperry, an early explorer of the glacier area, was influential in it becoming a national park.
The Sperry Chalet. It's closed down now. Glacier's kind of weird in that nearly everything in the park closes between the 1st of September and just after Labor Day. But it stays so nice up here deep into September that it seems to me they're kind of closing a little bit early. But who am I? Just some guy. 3 more buildings in the chalet complex. I've got a lot of climbing ahead of me. Fortunately, my pack is super light, just filled with a couple day essentials. Another Billy boy. Looks like a mom and her baby on the edge of the cliff. It's pretty neat up here. If I was a mountain goat, I'd definitely make this place my home. It's quite a bit of water, quite a bit of grass, beautiful scenery. What more does a mountain goat want? Due to the wind, this could hardly be called a waterfall. Maybe a waterfly or a waterfalling in style. Looks like I'll head up this chute to get to the other side. Nice set of stairs. Sperry Glacier. I'm at about 8,000 feet, the high point of my trip, and I believe the highest point that I've ever hiked to in Glacier National Park. Time to retrace my steps back the way I came to return to Sperry Campground. My twin, just two goats on the mountain. Goats everywhere. One's posted surveying his domain. One's charging right at me. Sperry Chalet, Lincoln Peak, Lincoln Pass. Home again, jiggity jog. It's time for my pre-dinner rest. Some tiny visitors hiking through camp. Don't worry, Mom's just on the other side of that tree. Oh, there she is. I see she's got some tags in her ear.
Let's take a look at the map for day 4. From Lake Ellen Wilson, I hiked up and over Lincoln Pass to the Sperry campsite where I set up, and then continued exploring up the Sperry Glacier Trail to check out Sperry Glacier, and then back down to the Sperry campsite. Day 4 was about 10 miles. Day 4 in Glacier has been an awesome day, usurping day 3 as the most scenic day of the trip. I greatly enjoyed the hiking, especially the shelf lakes on the way up to the Sperry Glacier overlook, and it has been a goat bonanza. The mountain goats are really cool to watch, and I've got a lot of respect for them. They survive in an extremely tough environment here on the backbone of the world. Camp set up, I've got dinner in me, and I'm settling in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 4. Good night. Good morning. It's day 5, the penultimate day of my backpacking trip here in Glacier. Had a restful night last night, stayed in the mid-40s, although a couple times I did hear some goats clomping along the rocks, but it was no big deal. Today is my most relaxing day of the trip. I only have about 8 miles to go, mostly downhill, to Snyder Lake. I say mostly downhill, but my expectation is I'm going to drop straight down for the first part of the day and then climb straight back up for the second part of the day. So we'll see how that goes. It is looking like another nice day today. I'm going to get camp packed up and it'll be time to hit the trail. Here is one of the goats' use pass, obviously coming right by my tent. I only saw one of the babies with Mama this morning, and I was a little worried, and then she brought both by to photobomb the intro, so it was nice of her to let me know both babies were safe and sound. This is a different mom and kid. Her ears aren't tagged, and she has one baby. This area burned fairly recently. In 2017, the Sprague Creek fire swept through the area, and we can see the aftermath here 6 years later. First bear scat of the day. This one must have gotten into the pumpkin spice a little early. Beaver Medicine Falls on Sprague Creek. The forest is getting thicker as I descend, continuing to see lots of fire scars on the trees. I will be back to this intersection tomorrow to finish off my trek down to Lake McDonald, but today I'm going to take the side route up to Snyder Lake. I've dropped about 2,500 feet in elevation so far today. Now I'm going to climb up a little over 1,000. And that'll be it. I've swapped Sprague Creek for Snyder Creek, but Snyder Creek drainage does appear to have burned as well, probably in that same fire. I've been seeing so little brush on this trip, it's getting me spoiled. Even this little trail up to Snyder Lake, a little tiny bit of brush, but not too bad at all. The drainage is starting to open up into a bit of a cirque as I get closer to Snyder Lake. One cool development in recent times has been the addition of some yellows, oranges, and reds into the vegetation. Everything used to be all green. Now we're starting to see the first vestiges of fall's flag flying. Back behind me down the Snyder Creek drainage, I see some blue skies appearing. Home sweet home. Made it to the Snyder Lake campground at the food prep and food hang area. I got to camp pretty early, so I'm going to eat lunch, hang my food, go find a tent site, and enjoy the lake. Snyder Lake. I think it's super fair to call this a cirque. A deep, steep-walled basin, typically forming the broad end of a valley. Clouds are clearing up a little bit. Maybe the sun will pop out. This will be the site for me. It's the farthest site from the rest of camp, and it has the best views. Call that double prizes.
George Snyder was an early settler in the Lake McDonald area and built the first hotel at the site of the present-day Lake McDonald Lodge.
My food is secured, my water is gathered, and my shelter is set up. Life is simple. I love it.
Let's take a look at the map for day 5. From the Sperry campsite, I came down the Sperry Trail to connect with the Snyder Lake Trail and then up to Snyder Lake. Day 5 was about 8 miles.
Day 5 in Glacier has been another great day. The hiking was easy, the weather extremely cooperative, and the destination, Snyder Lake Cirque, was more scenic than I expected. The clouds hung around for most of the morning, making for a pretty cool hike, and then in the afternoon the sun came out, perfect timing for me to bathe in the rays for an afternoon nap. I've got camp set up, dinner's in me, and I'm settling in for the last night of the trip. As long as nothing crazy happens, that'll be the end of day 5. Good night.
Good morning. Made the day 6, the final day of my backpacking adventure in Glacier National Park. Temperatures last night dropped to around 37, second coldest night of the trip, but the much bigger annoyance was a rainstorm moved through. That is an annoyance because now I have to pack up a wet tent, and all the brush that I walked through yesterday has been loaded up with dripping water, and so it will be a wet walk out for me today. However, I've had almost a week of absolutely perfect weather, so I guess I can't complain too much about one little rainstorm. I've already eaten breakfast. I'm going to get camp packed up, go grab my food, and be time to hit the trail. Brown Mountain to the left, the Little Matterhorn straight ahead, and Edwards Mountain to the right comprise the cirque that surrounds Snyder Lakes. The sun has not yet breached the walls of the cirque, which means that the temperature has not started warming up yet, so it's still in the 30s. And as expected, all this vegetation hugging the trail is wet from last night's rainstorm, which means that I'm getting wet. So my current status is a bit wet, a bit cold, and a bit uncomfortable, as one would expect. There is a thick fog bank down in the Snyder Creek drainage. That is right the way I'm heading. Hopefully I'll be able to see through it, make my way the last handful of miles to Lake McDonald. It seemed like a small storm where I was at, but there's been close to 10 new downfall on the trail. Broken trees everywhere. Made it back to yesterday's intersection. So I finished up the Snyder Lake Trail. Now the Gunsight Pass Trail is what it says on the sign. Will take me a little under 2 miles to Lake McDonald Lodge. Funnily enough, right after I commented on the amount of trees that came down last night, I met a trail crew member who was already out working on them. So kudos to the trail crew doing the hard work to keep the trails nice and clear for those of us out here recreating. We can see the great work that she's already done this morning to remove the limbs from this tree that came down last night, making it much easier to traverse. First views of Lake McDonald. There's some fog hugging the ridgeline, but the lake is clear. 6 days in Glacier National Park, done and dusted. This place is incredible. I had another awesome adventure out here. I think for me the highlight was probably the mountain goats, getting to hang out with them at Sperry, watching the way they interacted with their world and with each other, and the little babies, they were so super cute. I did get to finish today with wet boots, which is fitting because all of my trips in Glacier have finished with wet boots. I've got just a couple 100 yards to reach the Lake McDonald parking lot, and then I'll be off to the truck. Time to get some real food and a hot shower. Until next time, thanks for tuning into Lane's World. Goodbye.
Let's take a look at the map for day 6. From Snyder Lake, I followed the Snyder Lake Trail, down to the Sperry Trail, down to Lake McDonald, for a day total of about 5 miles, and a trip total of approximately 58 miles.